I just came by to thank the Boston Police Department for the incredible job they play in our city. They help bring our city together, especially during challenging times. The men and women of Boston Police are always there for the residents, but we also want to acknowledge the important role the community plays as well. So it's about a partnership between the community and the police, each supporting each other, treating each other with respect and dignity. And that's what the city of Boston is all about under Mayor Wu and Commissioner Cox. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So today we're here to talk about, I guess, the summer plan for safety for the city, but I think it's really important for you all to understand that, the police department always has a plan. And the only difference is the summertime presents a little different challenges than other parts of the year. And so.
Could you just speak into the mic?
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
I don't know, is that more helpful? Thank you. And so we're here today just to talk a little bit about maybe what we currently always do in general, some of the factors during the summer that we want to make sure the public understands so they can stay safe, and also just make the public aware of some of the things that we are doing or have been doing to try to address some of the quality of life issues that happen sometimes during the summer, sometimes all year long in general. And so, us talking about that, and certainly with the mayor and the rest of the city talking about all the services that they provide, it will certainly give a good perspective of how we work together to make sure Boston stays one of the safest cities in this country. And so, you heard me mention about, our strategy year round. Well, we absolutely do what we call real-time intelligence-driven, captured and done by our Boston Regional Intelligence Center, where when something happens, we not only look to what occurred, but also trends, patterns, anything that we can find out about that particular incident through intelligence, through the community, through other law enforcement agencies, to make sure that we do all we can to both solve the issue and make sure we prevent something from happening in the future. When we do this, not only do we do it with our personnel, but we also partner with our federal partners, our state police partners, and other municipalities if need be. The importance of that is really making sure that we address the right people at the right time that are driving a lot of the violence. What we found over time is that it's a small percentage of people that typically do the majority or a large portion of the violent crime in our city and a lot of other cities in general. And so that's why it's really important that we're data-driven and that we're putting officers and people in certain places where these things occur, certainly that we know about. And we always need the public's help in making sure that we're addressing that as well. And so the combination of being data-driven, putting all our resources, and we have a lot, specialized units, visibility of officers, walking beats, other patrols, high visibility patrols in areas when we, think something's going to happen, or more importantly, to make sure we capture the persons who do it. This is how we go about on a daily basis looking at those trends around that. We capture a lot of people with guns, and there's a lot of guns in this country in general, and we do, I think, a fairly good job of making sure that we take as many guns off the street as possible. You've probably seen from our site, every single day almost, the number of guns that we're pulling off, and the videos are showing it. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be an endless supply of them throughout this country, but the fact is we're doing all we can to make sure we address gun crime around that. So this summer is what we've already started to do, and we'll try to do more, is we'll also try to reach out to communities to do something a little different around what we call community ComStats. This is where we go to little micro areas throughout the city, because the city is very different in certain areas, to actually get input from the public on not only how they like to be policed, but the issues and problems that they see. We have data all the time. We have a lot of data. But we need to share that with the public and actually get their feedback on the priorities of which resources should we use to handle the priorities that they determine that are appropriate, as well as also make sure that they stay safe and educate them in different things that we're doing and working as well. We do all of this to continue to try to build trust with the public, because if you have a public that doesn't trust the police department, you'll have a public that won't call 911. They won't, tell us what happens after the fact. They won't report things. There'll be no trust, and it's very hard to solve crimes without the public's help. You'll hear it often about after a major incident that happens. You hear me saying all the time, we need the public's help and support. That is because we do. Outside of officers being there on scene to actually witness it themselves, we can't solve crimes without witnesses and people coming forward. So working with the public to actually make sure we're in the right place to prevent the crime from happening, or working with the public after the fact to make sure that we address crime after it occurs, is what we do on a daily basis in general, all driven around data and information sharing, not only locally, but with all our partners, both regionally and statewide. So where are we today? I want to talk a little bit about our little crime stats. So year to date, from January from 22 to May 24th of this year, in comparison to last year, we're overall actual shooting victims, we're down 3 victims. So that means there's less people who've actually been shot. Unfortunately, our homicides are up during that same period. And so we have a lot to do to make sure that these numbers don't rise. But in comparison to last time, there's actually less shootings than there were the year before. And again, summer strategy, what makes summer a little different than the rest of the year? Well, we're coming out of COVID. All the restrictions have gone away. You heard on recently about the air travel said it's back to pre-pandemic, rates, which means there's a lot more tourism and people coming to the city in general. There's a lot more outdoor events. There's a lot more outdoor activities. And so there's a lot more opportunities for people to come together in good ways, and also unnecessarily not bad ways if they don't always get along, or if there's challenges that happen in certain events that occur. So, we have to always make sure that we're present in certainly in groups and places where these challenges might come to fruition around people maybe not always getting along or doing well by each other. So summertime has a lot of cookouts and a lot of activities in general, which are good, and we encourage all those things. But we also encourage the public that when you see signs that arguments occur or things happen in a negative way, that you really need to let us know early on, because they have a way of turning into other things and much more violent things. And so part of our job is to referee, to get there, to make sure cooler heads prevail. So we encourage the public this summer, as in all year long, to let us know if you see behavior or things happening that we can get more involved in. Again, we partner with anybody and everybody, all our city agencies. We have grants, and we work with kids and youth in general, and I'm not going to bore you with all of the different activities and stuff that we do to try to connect with the community and build trust around that. But we have a ton of partnerships, but we're always looking for more partnerships. So as the summer goes on, if there's business groups or community groups or people that want to partner with us to, whether it's community walks or walks, candlelight walks, or anything that would help that community group feel safer in some way, shape, or form, we'd like to partner with you this summer, as or any time of the year. And so summer also presents an opportunity to address, water safety. And I'm actually going to have one of our new deputy superintendents to come up and actually talk a little bit about our water safety plans for the summer. We are the harbor master for the city, and I think it's important to always highlight the important things that we do in the water in general. This is Deputy Superintendent Dan Humphreys. He's been with us about a week or so.
So we have a wonderful waterfront. We have a wonderful harbor, and we encourage everybody to enjoy everything that it has to offer, right? But it has its special challenges and risks that go along with it. So if people want to go swimming, whether it's at a beach with a lifeguard or it's an unsupervised area, we really want to set some safe swim practices, right? So we encourage people to be, cognizant of their ability levels, but regardless of your ability level, the ocean has its own, challenges. So we want people to use the buddy system when they're swimming, swim with a partner or somebody that's on shore with you that is there watching out for you and you're watching out for them. Our community centers offer swimming programs as well as the YMCA, and we encourage everyone to take part in that so that they are safe while they're enjoying the waterfront and the beaches and things like that. As it relates to watercraft, we have paddle boarders, stand-up paddle boarding, kayaks, personal watercrafts, and boats. Well, there's rules that go along with that. Just like a car, you can't operate these vehicles under the influence of alcohol. So if you're operating any type of motorcraft on the ocean, there's no drinking. You can't be under the influence of alcohol, just like a motor vehicle. There's also rules of the road. You have to familiarize yourself with the statutory requirements of the captain of that vessel, giving way to larger vehicles, and knowing which side of the channels you're supposed to be on. Our personal watercraft can't operate within a certain distance of any type of moored vehicle or within a certain distance of the coastline. Okay, it's strictly regulated. We want to make sure that anyone that's in any type of paddle board or kayak has a high visibility shirt or vest on so other vehicles can see them. And we absolutely want to make sure everybody's wearing some sort of a Coast Guard approved life jacket or survival device while they're out there. And again, we have our Harbor Patrol unit is always available. Call 911 if you see anything of any concern at all near or around the water. We want people to let us know right away.
Thank you very much. So also in conjunction to that, we talked a little bit about quality of life. We do get a lot of calls during the summer impacting quality of life. And I think one of the primary issues that we have sometimes are these revelers that you see that come into the city, motorcycles and kids on scooters and bikes in large groups, really driving recklessly wherever they go in some way, shape, or form. And I'm going to have my Deputy Superintendent Pam Harris, another new addition to our command staff, come up and talk a little bit about the Reveler program that we have, or at least some of the good work that we've done in the past to address that and actually come on up. Don't mind me. I think it's important for you also to also introduce and meet some of the other people that work in our department that do a tremendous amount of work. So I think that they should also get some practice talking to you as well. So if you'd like to tell us a little bit about the Reveler program that you're so much involved in.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, everyone. Deputy Superintendent Pam Harris, Bureau of Field Services. The Commissioner was correct in saying that the summer brings a whole host of new challenges for our department with the festivities, the events, but one of the biggest things that impacts us, the community the most, is the off-highway vehicles that I know many of you have seen throughout the city. The large groups, we recognize the impact that this has on the quality of life for our residents. We want the public to know that we do have a plan, which I do intend to share with you, and some of the work that we've done in the past. So just a little history about how this all came to be. When the pandemic started and the establishments were shut down, people would gather, and they would gather on the main thoroughfares, and they would essentially take over the streets to create alternatives to gathering and partying. So that's how it all began. What we do know right now is that most of the participants, we understand that some people want to use it as a recreation, and we recognize that, and we encourage that if you were to do it safely. But the problem with the revelers is a lot of them are not doing it safely. They're operating in a reckless manner, wreaking havoc in our communities, and sometimes attempting to take over the streets, which we absolutely cannot allow. But many of the groups and participants are not from Boston. We monitor them. We have an auto theft task force that pretty much is a full-time focus on the Reveler activity. So many of them are not from Boston. They come from neighboring communities into our city and cause a whole lot of disruption, not just to the community, but also to, I'd like to add, to the animal residents at the Franklin Park. So it started during COVID, and as a result, we've seen a huge increase in the community complaints, which rightfully so, because of the dirt bike, ATVs, and scooters. You know, a lot of them, they're driven recklessly, usually large groups, and they have little regard for the laws of public safety. And the majority of them are not registered. 90% of them are not registered, 90% are stolen. The other 10% we're finding are registered to family members of the operators. And, you know, when we seize them, it's important to know that that's a great form of enforcement, because they can't get the bikes back or the vehicles back until they prove ownership, which many of them can't do. So that's why that aspect of enforcement is very important. So I'll just talk about some of the focus efforts that we've had so far. So thus far in 2023, we've seized 92 off-highway vehicles just this year alone, and we've issued 1,200 citations in 2022 with 133 off-highway vehicles seized. And some of the citations include parking violations, violations of city ordinances, and violation of traffic laws. And this is a really comprehensive problem. One of the challenges with the revelers is they're mobile. So that's why we encourage our officers not to pursue, not to engage, because pursuing them poses a whole nother threat to our public safety. It is not worth it to chase them and increase speed and increase other dangers to the public. So we have enforcement in place, but the Auto Theft Task Force, they're out there every weekend. And what they do is they engage them when they dismount. So we have a safer plan in place. We have barriers in place, digital message boards to inform the public should we need to shut a street down. Because what we'd rather do, we'd rather close the street and preserve the peace rather than allow them take over the street. Because what also comes along with the Reveler plan, the revelers, is a lot of criminal activity. And I'll talk a little bit more about that so I can speed this along. So 1,200 citations in 2022 with 133 seizures. We're currently collaborating. It's so comprehensive. We're working with the Mass State Police as well as Transit Police, so we all work together. We have a routine every weekend. We have a plan which includes closures, visibility, and monitoring. So we are out there, and we want the community to know that we're very well aware. We recognize the impact, and we're getting ahead of it as best we can, because this also poses a problem on a department that's already strained. It depletes a lot of resources, but it's very important that we stay in front of it. So in February 2023, our Auto Theft Unit Task Force conducted a long-term investigation and intelligence. So in February, they executed search warrants in which they seized many off-road vehicles, firearms that included AR-15 rifles, silencers, extended magazines. A significant amount of fentanyl was also recovered during the execution of Operation Reveler from February 2023. That also resulted in the arrest of multiple suspects, seizure of many firearms, 36 grams of fentanyl. But just like the other issues that plague our community, we need the public's help to address this. We need the public's help because this is a mobile problem. And we can't be everywhere. They go throughout the city. We move them from one location and they show up in another district. So what we need is the public's help. We need to be informed if you discover that these vehicles are being stored anywhere. Let us know if they're being stored, if you see large groups gathering, if you see the reckless driving. What's important, that's where we're going to get the intelligence, because we're able to do the background information, go to those locations, because at one point they did a search warrant on a storage facility and found numerous bikes being stored there, and a lot of them are being stored in an illegal manner, which poses another threat because they have gas in them and things like that. So So just make sure that if you see this, report it to Crime Stoppers. You can call 911. All of our neighborhoods have community service offices. Please get in touch with your community service officer if you have a relationship, or if you don't, that'd be a good time to build one. So that's a good way to get the information out. And you can also contact the Auto Theft Task Force directly. And you can text the word tip to crime and 1-800-494-TIPS. So thank you. And
Thank you very much,
thank you.
Debbie.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And knowing it's very tough to come before you all in any fashion and actually go through all those details. And I think she did a tremendous job. But in general, so those are like two quality of life issues that really present a challenge for us in the summertime. Is loud parties, well, not loud parties, parties overnight, because we've had many incidents that have happened, particularly late at night, where those have turned into pretty violent acts have happened at these places. So we do need the public to let us know when these parties are occurring. You know, we'll do the best we can to make sure we get there and address those before anything can potentially go wrong in any way, shape, or form. And we just talked a little bit about what we are doing with the revelers in general. So this pretty much concludes, you know, what the police department wants to talk about right now as far as summer planning or planning in general. I'm sure we'll take some more questions after we're done, but I'd like to bring up Mayor Wu to talk a little bit about all that the city does. So, Mayor Wu? Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you, as always, to our incredible police commissioner and everyone at BPD and all of our partner organizations for their tireless and relentless work 24 hours a day to make sure that not only are we one of the safest cities in the country, but that sense of safety is, as you heard, grounded in community trust and community partnerships. We are, this briefing today is one more example of the commissioner's style of leadership of, as he mentioned, initiating conversations out in community with CompStat and data sharing that goes neighborhood by neighborhood to really invite in partnerships, and in the same way to make sure that on a regular basis we're reporting out as a city about the issues and concerns and programming and events that are coming up through a public safety and community safety lens with the media as well. So as you can tell, the theme of this month's briefing is very much related to this being the start of summer, and if it will ever fully warm up, the chance for people to get out there. We see the return of many of the annual events that potentially had been paused during the pandemic or have started to come back in size and attendance. Really, we're anticipating large-scale attendance at many of the beloved community festivals and parades and traditions. Each one of those public events and the new ones that we're creating, right? For example, expanding open streets and making it easier for residents and partners to get permitted for arts events in the park and other neighborhood block parties and gatherings. Many of those events, all of the large-scale ones, require a tremendous amount of coordination with the Boston Police Department and more often than not, staffing and support at the event as well. So I want to thank them for their work to make sure that we can do that this summer. The goal is to make 2023 summer the most fun and active, joyful, and healthy summer. And so we're going to be, I'll go through a little bit of the examples, but our goal is to create the spaces for people to gather safely and in community and in as many places as possible with as few barriers as possible. And I think one of the messages that you hear from BPD, which I'll translate into how I think about the mission of our public safety efforts, is that we want to encourage everyone to get outside, have fun, organize an event, bring your family and friends and community together, and just be aware of the impacts of your party and gathering and festival. We want everyone to have the same opportunity to be able to enjoy their summer, and for some people late at night, that means having a bit of a quiet night. And so we just respect and encourage everyone's individual goals of building community, but know that we all have to fit together into that one community. So we are really excited, and you'll hear shortly from the leaders in the administration who are focused on community safety and human services broadly, but also youth and young people in programming more specifically, we are really excited to focus on young people and creating more opportunities for fun and safe, healthy gatherings. A few months ago, we made the largest investment in our youth summer jobs program in Boston's history, almost $19 million to create 7,000 career opportunities for young people. We are also relaunching the Adopt a Block program in partnership with our faith communities and leaders, hosting fun activities for young people throughout the summer. In the next few days, we will announce the recipients of Boston's Summer Activation Mini Grants, and so we thank all those who came together with their neighbors to submit ideas and identify locations where a little bit of funding can go a long way into activating and making that space one with programming, events, and other engagement opportunities. Our BCYF community centers will also be teaming up with community partners and nonprofits to provide special summer programming, which includes teen night programming. Certain BCYF centers, which Chief Masso will describe, will stay open as late as 9 p.m. in certain locations, just to make sure that our young people have the chance to be themselves, free of all the stuffy grown-ups, and to do so in a space that is already familiar and supportive and nurturing. As Commissioner Cox mentioned, quality of life is a big focus around the summer as more and more people are out and about and together. Although we are certainly moving forward on some of the strategies and plans that we're intending to connect to public safety and community safety year-round. In the immediate term, some of those include a major focus, as you heard, on putting a stop to gun violence in Boston. If you look at the numbers, especially compared to national trends, Boston is one of the safest cities in the country. But that is not the lens through which we look at this issue. Even one single instance of gun violence has impacts that are long-lasting and generational in our communities, and our families deserve safety, full stop, no exceptions. So last month, with the leadership of Dr. Yablo, we brought together more than 20 organizations and community and city leaders, including Commissioner Cox, Dr. Ojikutu of the Boston Public Health Commission, Superintendent of Schools Mary Skipper, and those leaders here, the Black Men and Boys Commission, residents and leaders, for a week-long intensive workshop with the Violence Reduction Center to understand what best practices from around the country could be applied right here in Boston to do better. Now we're taking what we learned and building a comprehensive gun violence strategy designed to disrupt cycles of violence through trauma-informed care and stop gun violence before it occurs. That means ensuring that 100% of our residents most vulnerable to and impacted by violence are connected to resources and services that meet their needs and the needs of the community. At the same time, we know how important it is to have the right supports in place to sustain our broader community safety infrastructure, keeping people informed and involved every step of the way. So in addition to the public listening sessions that Dr. Yablo has been hosting, some of the sessions around mental health that the Boston Public Health Commission has been hosting, our healing tour, which will begin later this summer, the CompStat sessions that Boston Police has been hosting. You can find everything in one place on the website, boston.gov/community safety, all one word. So this website will be up to date with the latest information on what Boston is doing to make sure that we continue to be the safest place to raise a family and build community. We know that our success depends on our approach through collaboration. And with all of our partners across community, faith leaders, educators, coaches, counselors, parents, family members, and friends, every person and place that touches the lives of our young people and residents has to be connected into a citywide effort. Because we know that violence is a symptom of the deeper systemic community-scale challenges, not the cause of it. And to have an effective and lasting public safety strategy, whether through prevention, intervention, recovery, or reinvestment, we will always have to center the well-being of those who are impacted, and that requires starting with trust. Trust has to be earned, trust has to be built, and every aspect of our work is looking to engage and empower communities. So, Our families deserve a city where every park and playground, every classroom and corner bodega, every sidewalk and alleyway is a safe place to be at any time, day or night. That is what we are working towards, and that is what we are building community around across every neighborhood. Okay, before I turn it over to Dr. Yablo, un poco en español, mantener la seguridad de todos los residentes, de todas las calles, de todos los barrios, es una responsabilidad que comparten todos y cada uno de los departamentos de gobierno municipal. Y eso empieza por garantizar que nuestros jóvenes estén seguros y sanos y cuenten con los recursos necesarios este verano. Hace unos meses hicimos la mayor inversión de la historia de Boston en nuestro programa de empleo juvenil de verano, casi $19 millones, creando 7,000 oportunidades profesionales para los jóvenes. Estamos relanzando el programa Adopt a Block para ayudar a nuestras comunidades religiosas a organizar actividades divertidas para los jóvenes este verano. En los próximos días también anunciaremos los beneficiarios de nuestras mini becas de activación de verano, que permitirán a nuestros socios comunitarios crear programas, organizar eventos e invertir en otras oportunidades de participación para los jóvenes. Nuestros centros comunitarios también colaboran con socios y organizaciones sin ánimo de lucro para ofrecer una programación de verano personalizada, además de la programación nocturna para adolescentes, lo que ampliaría el horario de algunos centros comunitarios, manteniéndolos abiertos hasta las 9 de la noche. Y como mencionó el comisario Cox, estamos tomando medidas para abordar las preocupaciones de seguridad específicas de la temporada, como las motos y los fuegos artificiales. Aunque el verano tiene retos especiales para la seguridad pública, mantener la seguridad de nuestras comunidades es una prioridad durante todo el año. Ahora estamos tomando lo que hemos aprendido y construyendo una estrategia integral contra la violencia armada diseñada para interrumpir los ciclos de violencia a través de la atención informada por el trauma y detener la violencia armada antes de que ocurra. Al mismo tiempo, sabemos lo importante que es contar con los apoyos adecuados para sostener nuestra amplia infraestructura de seguridad pública y que para tener éxito debemos mantener a nuestras comunidades informadas en cada paso del camino. Por eso, hemos lanzado nuestra nueva página web boston.gov/seguridad comunitaria, todo en una sola palabra. Mantendremos el sitio actualizado con toda la información más reciente sobre lo que estamos haciendo como ciudad para hacer de Boston el lugar más seguro del país para formar una familia. Nuestras familias merecen una ciudad en la que cada parque, cada patio de recreo, cada salón de la esquina, cada acera y cada callejón sea un lugar seguro en el que estar a cualquier hora del día o de la noche. Ese es nuestro objetivo. And before I turn it over, I just want to mention one thing as well, just another marker of how much the leadership of the commissioner is being held up as a model and of the entire Boston Police Department and our community safety efforts. Was it 2 weeks ago now?
Seems like yesterday.
Okay. There was a congressional hearing on public safety, especially focused on cities and strategies that can be effective. And the commissioner was one of just a few public safety leaders across the country and the only one from this region to be invited to testify and share his remarks. And so I'm very grateful for his representation on the national scene as a leader and how we can be a role model for other cities as well. Thank you so much, and I'll pass it to Dr. Yablo.
Thank you, Mayor Wu. And before we start, I just want to acknowledge that it's the 3-year anniversary of the passing of George Floyd. So if we can we take a moment of silence for him? Thank you all. So again, as the mayor mentioned, my name is Isaac Yablo, and I proudly serve as Mayor Wu's Senior Advisor for Community Safety. My role as Senior Advisor centers around 4 primary responsibilities: serving as the Mayor's liaison and voice on community safety, coordinating strategic plans for violence work, ensuring that the development of effective protocols are responsive to resident needs, and participating in the city's overall policy agenda. So within the mayor's office, we prioritize close collaboration and coordination with our partners throughout the city government and within the community. While this is a year-round priority, as the police commissioner mentioned, and as the mayor mentioned, we understand that this is extremely important during summer months that have seen in previous years increases in community violence. So today I'm proud to be here to talk about the plan that we have developed as a city that encompasses all aspects of our city with the goal of making our community safe during the summer. So in terms of summer safety strategy, the mayor's office, in tandem with other City of Boston departments and constituents of the communities most impacted by community violence, has developed a comprehensive framework for community violence prevention, intervention, recovery, and community building. Our framework aims to acknowledge the root causes and social determinants of violence, while also proactively intervening in conflicts to prevent violence from occurring or escalating. These programs and initiatives represent the work of the city departments that are committed to prioritizing the safety and well-being of our community and creating pathways to opportunity so that all Bostonians can thrive. So we have 5 broad goals that are guiding the strategy for the summer, and these goals can be considered as either prevention, intervention, and recovery, or community building and empowerment. So the first of the 5 goals, scaling up community and youth activities, mentor programming, and employment opportunities for persons residing in communities historically impacted by gun violence. So summer creates the need for greater engagement in prevention activities, programming, and employment outside of the classroom. As the mayor mentioned, we have made an unprecedented investment of almost $19 million in youth jobs, around 7,000, 4,500 private, and around 2,500 internally within the city. Our public schools has a robust offering of programs that they're going to be offering. BCYF, the same, and then Parks and Recreation. All of this is available on www.boston.gov/community safety, or / community safety. The second goal, ensure neighborhoods are supported and connected to resources to help them respond to and recover from incidents of community violence. So summer presents a greater need to proactively connect community members to trauma support services and other community health initiatives. So obviously we have our neighborhood trauma team network that is available to all residents that have experienced community violence. The third goal, to strengthen intervention and recovery efforts through expanded intentional outreach and engagement to the most not at risk but at promise populations. So summer requires a data-driven focus on opportunity youth and young adults that are engaged in and are impacted by community violence, aiming to connect them to intervention and recovery-oriented services. Many of the programs that I'm talking about right now are year-round programs. But the programs that I am talking about also are cognizant that there is a heightened need during the summer months to create programming. And so YOU Boston Youth Options Unlimited is a program that works with young adults that are systems involved 16 to 24 years old and helps them get connected to employment. We have Power Corps, our Green Jobs initiative program that helps individuals above the age of 18 get connected to career pathways within the Green Jobs initiative, Green Job space. And then, of course, our Safe and Successful Youth Initiative, SSYI, works with individuals 17 to 24 that are most likely to shoot or be shot in the streets of Boston. And then a program that I'm really excited about that I have the pleasure of running point on, Operation Exit, a program that provides the knowledge and skills required to apply for and enter into state-registered building trades apprenticeship program. So very excited about that, and we're going to be getting that online very soon. The fourth goal, to increase positive community engagement and opportunities to activate hotspot locations as a means to build community. I think we all know what hotspot locations are. As the police commissioner mentioned, there's this very small amount of individuals that are involved in a large amount of the violence in the city of Boston. The same rings true for our neighborhoods. A very small number of neighborhoods, micro-communities, experience the bulk of the violence that exists within the city. And so really focusing in on those micro communities and ensuring that they're connected to the services. The mayor mentioned that we will be announcing our awardees of our summer activation mini grant. So that mini grant, formerly known as the Save Our Streets grant, exists to empower organizations that work closely with persons in the city's most historically violent communities and marginalized communities. And funds will be used to activate community spaces where community violence has been historically prevalent during summer months. Up to $7,000 will be awarded to each individual organization, and we have some really, really, really strong community-oriented grassroots entities that will be awarded, and we're excited to announce that. On the same note, the Office of Black Male Advancement, an office created under this administration, recently concluded their cycle for their Black Male Advancement Community Empowerment Small Grant, which awards up to $25,000 to Black male serving organizations across the city. And I bring this up because it's really important, because Black men represent populations that are most likely to shoot or be shot in the city. So having a very precise focus on Black men and boys is really important. And so I'm honored to be working with that office. Then we also have the VIP initiative, which works in 6 micro communities across the city that have been historically violent and aims to do community building work there. And then, as the mayor mentioned, adopt a block with our clergy leaders. The 5th and final goal, which came out of the VRC workshop that the mayor mentioned that we completed in April, to finalize the city's new gun violence intervention strategy. So in preparation, as we get closer to the summer months, we decided to go through this workshop to refresh our memories on some of the tactics that we are using currently, and then to get up to date on some very new, not new, but innovative tactics that might be relevant to the city of Boston. Part of that came a specific strategy implementation plan that is encompassed, it's pretty robust, but 3 main things that came out of it that will go online this summer are meetings that will take place. So the first, weekly and bi-weekly incident review meetings with the mayor's office, representatives from the police department, and our public health commission to ensure that there is a coordinated citywide response to recent conflicts that have become or may become violent. The second, place-based partnerships meetings, again, in these hotspot locations with law enforcement, other city services, community stakeholders, and residents in these areas that have been impacted, with the goal of increasing law enforcement visibility without aggressive enforcement, while at the same time engaging in activities in these spaces while improving the physical built environment of these communities as well. And then lastly, establishing a gun violence reduction committee. This will be comprised of the police commissioner, other local law enforcement agencies, myself representing the mayor's office, and then community stakeholders to tackle the macro level policy changes that need to take place in order to advance our goals towards building this ecosystem. The commissioner again mentioned summer specific nuances, dirt bikes, ATVs, fireworks, problem properties that are known to have parties that often result in not, unsocial behavior. So I'm glad that that is a focal point here. Broadly, we have a lot of data, right? So we ran down data points. Statistically, we are one of the safest major cities in the United States. Sometimes perceptions on the ground level do not necessarily align with the quantitative metrics that we have access to as a city. And I would also mention the fact that the mayor and everyone in the city is committed not only to addressing violence, but to end violence, right? Like the goal is to end violence in our communities. And so over the past few months, myself, my colleague in the mayor's office, Ajay Singh, representatives of the Boston Public Health Commission, have been working to build out a rigorous, interactive, evidence-informed, and community-centered process to shape the city of Boston's violence prevention strategic plan moving forward. This process will have 3 major points of the work: the Live Truth or community engagement, Live Truth and community engagement, which will encompass 75% of the strategic plan because we understand, as I mentioned, that we have access to amazing data as a city, but the data that is equally as important to us are the lived experiences and the community experiences of people within the city. And so we really want to prioritize that and focus around 75% of the strategic plan on the lived experiences and community engagement. Proven truth in the data that we have access to will be around 15%, which is the data, again, that we know as a city that we have traditionally used to build out our strategies. And then built truth behind the policy and city transformation. The entire process is guided by core principles of addressing root causes, thinking of all forms of violence, so not just penetrating trauma and community violence, so all forms, intimate partner violence, structural violence, grounding all of our work in equity, and then thinking holistically and comprehensively about the solutions. And so that's broadly what we are doing for the summer. I've mentioned a number of different programs and initiatives that we have access to and that we will be running point on. It goes without saying that it's an entire city effort. It's not just myself. It's not just Commissioner Cox and the police department. It's all aspects of our government that are involved in this work. And the backbone of the plan is centered around much of the amazing work that is done, not only during the summer, but on a year-round basis. So I just want to say thank you to many of the people in the city that are the ones that are running point on the execution of this plan that I put together. So thank you, Commissioner Cox and the entire Boston Police Department. Special thank you to the Boston Regional Intelligence Center for providing me with all of the necessary data that I need to figure out where we need to be focusing our efforts. Thank you to the entire mayor's office, the entire Public Health Commission, Chief Masso and the Human Services Cabinet, who you'll hear from next, our Community Engagement Cabinet, our Workers Empowerment Cabinet, our Energy, Environment, and Open Space Cabinet, and then most importantly, our mayor for consistently holding us accountable, pushing us to do more, and for being a real trailblazer that isn't afraid to think outside of the box. But it's true, and we discussed this today, that Boston is one of the, in my opinion, the best, the safest major cities in the United States, but quantitative metrics of safety are not enough for this administration. And so we're making it very clear that feeling safe, just as having equitable access to food and shelter is a basic human right, to our administration is not a luxury. And so that's how we are operating, and that's how the goals for the summer have been shaped with that backdrop. So we're committed to the fight, and we will not stop until these goals are achieved. And with that, I'll hand it over to Chief Masso from the Human Services Cabinet.
Thank you so much, Isaac Diablo. Mayor Wu, Commissioner Cox, it's a pleasure to be here with you all today. My name is Jose Masso. I am the Chief of Human Services. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and I'm glad to be part of an administration that has taken a holistic approach to measurably reduce violence in our city, and as Isaac had mentioned, to end violence. My role and the role of my cabinet in this set of strategies is on the upstream prevention end of the spectrum. We strive to create conditions in which all young people and their families can thrive. When we invest in families and meet young people where they are, we have an opportunity to provide positive outlets for their energy and creativity. We offer spaces for exploration and for making meaningful connections to peers and caring adults. Under the leadership of Commissioner Marta Rivera, Boston Centers for Youth and Families is planning an exciting and engaging summer for kids and their families. We will be employing over 1,000 young people in our community centers, providing high-quality jobs that serve the community. We are offering free camps for working families so they know their kids have access to a fun, safe, enriching summer experience, and we will continue to be a meal site for families who need access to food during the summer months when schools are closed. And our Office of Youth Engagement and Advancement, led by Pedro Cruz, is coordinating with our youth-serving partners to make sure that together we are offering lots of opportunities for teens and young adults to engage in fun, safe summer activities such as movie nights, roller skating, dance parties, and so much more. We're excited to be partners in this effort to support families through the summer months, and we look forward to continue to listen and respond to the needs of our families. Thank you all.
Well, clearly, we have a lot going on this summer. So, any questions you all like to ask?
Commissioner, you talk about perception. Last night, there's a video out there of a person firing shots by Ramsey Park where children play. Of course, we learned about the shooting death of a 33-year-old on Columbia Road. So, can you provide us with any updates on those investigations, and what would you say to people living in that area?
And so there's still ongoing investigations, and certainly the Columbia Road one, we're still looking for the public's help on that one as well. And so we're here, and it's the same theme which I've already described. If or when they see something or think something's going on, let us know. Give us an opportunity to actually get there to prevent something in general. I sense in some sections of the community, people, for some reason or another, maybe don't call the police or they don't get involved in that way. So we encourage you to do it because that's what we're here for, to be involved, to prevent these things from happening. And they should also know that, we're here and we care. One act of violence is too many. And, we'd love to be able to roll back the clock and go back and prevent it from happening. In some of these cases, we can't be in people's homes or people's cars where these things occur, but as you heard from certainly with the mayor and with the city and all the services people are trying to provide families and communities to help keep them from going down a ride, that line of violence and things of that nature. I mean, I think that's really important, and so I encourage them to the city certainly puts out quite a few services in regard to trauma and the trauma involved with these events that happen. But more importantly, there's services out there right now that can help families, get through the issues and problems that might be causing stress. In the meantime, they should call us. We're here for them. The police department is here for them, right? In that way, and so we are out here every day to do all we can. The goal, and you hear stats, and stats, they don't mean. They mean something, but they don't sometimes. For a community, in any time something happens for that community, I don't care if that's the only event that's ever happened in 10 years. To them, it happened, and they're impacted by it, right? And we want to reduce the impact and trauma that any of these events have. But you hear us talk about stats because the importance of understanding in comparison to the world we live in, we're becoming a safer city each year. But yet, due to I hate to say, you all, social media, so much, it's reported so much, it seems as though it's not. And so, from our perspective, people need to understand this is a safe city. We can be safer with the public's help. We can be safer by making sure we address the needs that people have here, and I think as a city, we're doing that. And so that's what I would say.
Remember how many services you offer here. You see all that list right there, and that's a number of services. There's always going to be a sector of people who are either going to tune it out, not want to come, and those may be the people that are most susceptible to be involved in violence or be victims. Is that your biggest challenge, and how do you reach that subsector?
And that's an excellent question. How do you reach that subsector? I think, the city is certainly doing all we can to make sure we take away all the excuses that people could potentially have, right, around some of this by trying to address some of this, maybe some of the institutional things that have gone on in this world for a long period of time that have put them in a place where violence might feel as though they're the only thing that they can do. The reality is that with all these services that we're putting out, that the mayor is putting out, that the city is trying to do to help people, in our opinion, that, law enforcement has a role, that if individuals continue to, prey upon other individuals and communities, we have a responsibility to make sure that we separate them from the people, to make sure everyone is safe, right? And that's part of what we do. That's part of what we've always done. But we're not trying to, pillage or impact whole communities and vilify or incarcerate whole communities. That's not our goal at all. Our goal is to have no crime, zero crime. Police can't do that, right? Society has to do that with services and making sure we address the issues that drive it in the first place. And that's what this conference is press conference is really about. So.
Commissioner, can you talk about that trust, Angela? How do you build trust with the girl who's taking cover of her parents? And I'm not saying it's the police's responsibility, but how is the trust built for somebody like a family like that who's at Ramsey Park yesterday, taking cover and seeing this guy run away shooting?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. I mean, building trust is difficult in general, but you know, if you can't do it beforehand by having partnerships for people understanding what our role is and how we can help solve things, we can also do it by actually trying to bring to justice the people that are out there doing that, right? That's another way that we can do it as well. But, you know, these are very, very deep, complicated issues, and I think as a city, you know, and certainly the mayor can speak to it and has spoken to it, is doing all we can to make sure we address these issues to limit it. You know, as I say, it's towards our march towards zero, if that could ever happen.
Commissioner,
It's frustrating.
I think it's frustrating for everybody in this whole entire country. So,
Commissioner, we're hearing the number of cops on the streets is down quite significantly. I know a number of departments around the country are facing that same issue, but we're hearing possibly by 50%. I don't know if that's true or not. Can you tell us how many officers you're down for what's considered normal and how that is affecting your response time and your ability to fight crime?
so you know, we are down some officers. We have more people who have retired than we have brought on to the police department, and that's a challenge. But everybody is facing that challenge. I would imagine every industry is down. Even media is probably down, the number of people that work in your industry. So that's not an excuse. We are here to provide public safety for the citizens of Boston, and I think we're doing a good job at what we have. Could we have more, use more? Absolutely. We absolutely could. We always could use more, right, to go to that preventive stuff. But the fact is, we're doing all we can with what we have and making sure we put people in the right place to prevent as much as we can. And that's why the importance of partnership is really important to supplement that, because partnerships are probably even more important than ever before.
Commissioner, just on that note, may I take the opportunity to make a recruitment pitch as well? I will always try to encourage people to come serve the city. What number did we end up at with the current recruit class?
Right now we're at 146.
146. Okay, so right now we are just a couple weeks into the academy for the newest recruit class, 146 leaders from our community who will be stepping into these very important roles. That is one of the largest classes that this department has seen in a very, very long time, and it follows another large class last year as well. So we're committed to continuing to train up and recruit and support all of those who are interested in serving their city and taking care of their communities. We also have a cadet program that is an incredible way to ensure that Boston connected community members who are really representative of our neighborhoods, who know the streets of our city, have another way to get into the pipeline for these jobs. I would say across all of our public safety departments in particular, we are looking to, if you are at all interested, there are also multiple programs run by some of the officer associations to support that, with even a pre-training program for the cadet side that JAGO, the Latino Law Enforcement Group, runs as well. So there are lots of ways that we want to make sure we are adding to the ranks and supporting our officers and making sure that people also, in some of the ongoing negotiations, we're able to address issues such as how overtime and medical leave is administered so that more officers can be on the street as well.
Can you repeat that in Spanish, part of the recruits that you're going to have? And also specify un poco más en español también de las estrategias que tiene la ciudad para ayudar en cuanto a la violencia armada ahora mismo.
Okay. Ahora en el departamento de la policía, como muchas otras industrias y departamentos, necesitamos el talento de toda la comunidad. Tenemos unas maneras de participación para llevar su corazón para la comunidad en servicio de nuestra ciudad y nuestra comunidad en Boston. En este momento tenemos 146 miembros de la Academia de Policía y también un programa de Police Cadets, que es un programa de educación antes de la academia formal. Es muy importante si usted sabe un miembro de su familia o amigos, amigas, vecinos que tiene este interés, por favor, le contactamos y llevar llevar su interés al sitio web o otra manera de ayudar nuestra comunidad. Las estrategias para prevenir y eliminar la violencia en la comunidad es la fundación, primero, los estadísticos, data, y también la información y las experiencias de la comunidad con un foco en los lugares en Boston, en cada barrio o en cada comunidad que tiene que es más cerca de la experiencia de violencia. Entonces, tenemos programas para los jóvenes, inversiones en la colaboración con líderes en la comunidad. El objetivo es crear un verano que es la más activo, divertido y con la participación de toda la comunidad.
Commissioner, we reported on a recent rash of overdose deaths in Charlestown. I wonder, is there any evidence of this kind of thing happening in other neighborhoods that you know of? And what is the city doing to kind of get the word out?
So, I can't say if it's current trend. I know that there was a point where we were having quite a few around those. Certainly public health can speak to a little bit more about the overdoses. If Dr. Ojakuta was here, she can certainly speak to that a little bit more than I can. But when they do occur, we try to put out a message as soon as possible where if we believe, there's certain, tainted batches that are out there that are impacting, people pretty harshly as fast as possible. So I currently don't have any information right now that's a current trend, but if so, we will put something out immediately.
On the Columbia Road shooting, is there anything new on that? Was that targeted? Was that random?
It's under investigation. Yes, it's under investigation. That's about all I'll say about that. But
Commissioner, there have been 3 shootings in 3 days in the city. Do you have a message to people that have guns and thinks it's okay to shoot?
yeah, so this is not the city for that. One of the things we probably don't and have done a poor job of probably reporting out when we capture people. We are capturing, people. It might take a month, 2, 6 months, 8 months later, but we are capturing people that are committing these crimes in our city. And so, this is not the place to come to do that. You come here to live and live a good life, not to commit violence or certainly, bring guns or have firearm-related incidents here. And if you do it, we're going to do all we can to make sure that we separate you from the rest of the folks that are trying to live a good life here in the city.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Can I add one last thing, just on this, following up on Sean's question? Because so often we hear about the victims of the situations as just an age and a gender. I know that there has been a statement from the family that's been sent out to media, and I hope you all will not only take a look at it, but refer to the Mayer family's beloved son in terms of the person that he was, a beloved uncle and son, and someone who was active in his church as a pastor and longtime Boston Public School employee and public servant. And so I just wanted to make sure to elevate the wishes and conversations that our team has been having with some of the family members, and making sure that we see the wholeness of what this experience leaves everyone in our community. Thank you, everyone.